Quentin, and this is the Words of My Mind podcast. Happy Thanksgiving. The day this podcast is coming out, it's this podcast is coming out on Thanksgiving, and on the podcast, I've never really celebrated holidays because like I said in 2023, like I said in 2023, I would never celebrate a holiday unless the day the podcast is coming out is the same day as the holiday. Like this year, I'm celebrating Christmas and New Year's because they all fall on Thursdays and the podcast comes out on Thursdays. Same as Thanksgiving. But for Thanksgiving this year, I think this concept is going to follow the podcast hopefully for the rest of forever. I think I like the American tradition of giving one day to being thankful for everything you have gone through that whole year. And I think there's something really poetic in sitting and sharing a meal with friends or family and going around and stating or saying what you're thankful for. I think that's a very powerful tradition, and I think on Where's My Mind we're going to I am going to adopt that because I believe there is I just believe it looks really cool, not because of the Americanization of the world. I just think there's something really important with being thankful for the things you have and the things you experience, both good and bad. Yeah, I don't know how else to explain that. That's what I really want to do going forward. But I want to do it without the meals. I'm not going to come on the podcast and eat with you and they'll tell you what I'm thankful for. But I'm going to talk about being thankful today and things I'm thankful for and gratitude and the art of being gracious and being a good person. I think the art of being thankful is a version of sincerity that we haven't experienced a lot of. Like I said in 2 weeks ago episode, I think when we say pleasantries or when we say nice things, we just say it out of routine and we never feel the weight of whatever we're saying. I think to be thankful means no matter how the outcome was, even if it was something you planned from the first step to the final step, I think, or if it's something you planned from the first step and it goes awry and either succeeds or fails, I think the art of being thankful uh is a very great form of sincerity. I think being a thankful person means you are truly sincere in your presentation on the planet, if that makes sense. Sometimes I talk and it doesn't make sense to me, and then I listen and I'm like, okay, shut up. I want to tell you things I've been thankful for this year. I think I have been the number one thing I'm most thankful for this year is the full acceptance of oneself. And that's why I wrote on my notes the full acceptance of myself. I think for the longest time I have, if you've listened to the podcast for years now, but for the longest time I have wanted to be represented in a form that I feel a lot of people or a majority of people will align with, if that makes sense. Like someone who doesn't really offend anyone and someone who doesn't cause a reaction from anybody. I have wanted to be a blank canvas my whole life because I've always wanted I have operated as a blank canvas for a majority of my life, and I've wanted my story to be painted or arranged by whoever I am enamored or seduced by, not only sexually but physically, platonically. I have always wanted my expression of myself to be in a way, I said this on this podcast once, but I have always wanted to be a mirror for somebody else like I've wanted my life to screen someone else's life, if that makes sense. I've always wanted whatever when I'm experiencing someone, I've always wanted to adopt characteristics from that person so that person sees themselves in me and we become closer. And I think this year, most especially, I have not intentionally, but I have let go of that trait in a lot of things in my life. There are a lot of stories I would love to like share with you. I think those stories will make sense in like a different podcast episode, but not in this episode. I always knew what I like, but I always knew what I liked was not a very popular thing to like. And I thought, as someone who wanted to be enamored or like liked by a lot of people, I wanted whatever I mentioned to anybody to be a close relation to whatever that person likes. Like if I, for example, liked light ball at the gym, I would only talk to light ball at the gym about gym stuff. I swear to God, I cannot tell you anything about the gym, but because I go there, run, and come back home. But like, if I'm not saying I talk to people at the gym, but like that's a pure example. Like I took a break from Instagram for the last 5 months because a lot happened in my life, and I recently downloaded Instagram back, and I wanted to post something, and I noticed that a majority of the people I have on my social Instagram are people I used to know in the last three, like 5 years. And I think these people like only have a version of me that has been solely curated for that person or those group of people. I don't think there's anybody on my full Instagram. Like, I don't think there's anybody. Only like 3 people. I can count 3 people that would know me as an individual, and those people are listeners of the podcast. But like the rest were people I intentionally camouflaged in front of, if that makes sense. Not in the sense that I'm not using camouflage in the sense that you hide from prey. I'm using camouflage in the sense that I try to blend into the environment. So not hiding from, in a way, hiding, but like trying to blend in as much as possible. So I think that's that's the number one thing I'm most thankful for this year. I have like the backbone and the conviction to be a human being outside of, unlike things outside of what I feel a majority of people I knew or I know would like, if that makes sense. And it helps that for the last 5 months, I have been solely alone majority of the time. I've been inside this room majority of the time. So like I have only had to exist to myself. There was nobody I had to impress. I did not really need to impress anybody. I only needed to soothe myself. And I think the greatest act of accepting oneself is like accepting yourself in like the fullest form, no matter what you think Gerald from down the street is gonna say, or Sardinia. I name I give people really weird names. The next thing I'm really thankful for is my 2 cameras. I have said multiple times on this podcast that I've wanted a camera since I was a kid. Since I was 12, I wanted a camera. I wanted a mic since I was 7, and I wanted a camera since I was 12. And the reason was I just felt drawn to the medium of documentation of oneself. And I know it's very peculiar to see someone film themselves, but I feel there's like a power in archiving the past. I think there's something really strong in archiving the past. Out like recently for the last, I would say, 3 months, I have struggled with like recording the podcast. Shocker, shocker, shocker to nobody. Um, You're so annoying. I've been struggling with recording podcasts because I was like, I would have never started this podcast if I was me now. Because me now, I think I have been solely broken, and I think whoever was like pushing the buttons has finally won. I think my brain, like I've said a lot this year, is my number one op, and I think there's a lot of like sitch that I have with like this podcast. I feel I listen to some episodes and I think, oh my god, I would not like want like this to be out in the public, and I can always delete whatever I say. But I think there is a beauty the in the past. I think that's the word I'm trying to look for. I think there's a beauty in the past, and I think there's a beauty in this act of defiance, even if I feel super uncomfortable. But I'm really grateful for my camera. I'm really grateful. I think they're my greatest assets so far. As a poor boy from nowhere, like owning these cameras are is really important. I've been thinking of my past self as the same as me, and I fear that we are not the same person. I This is like not a hot thing or not a hot take, but this is a thought I've been having recently. I don't think I'm the same person as me from 10 years ago or me from like 15 years ago. I feel that child is a very different person. I think we are two separate entities. I feel if I were to go back in time, I would not approve of my childhood self. I think a lot of the things I did as a child stemmed from like cowardice, and even now I still notice like cowardly behaviors, but I've noticed the confidence that comes with overcoming whatever I feel is challenging to me at the moment. I have struggled with identifying with my past self in a lot of ways. And I feel I'll still experience this more and more because I replay the past, especially in the past 6 months, 5 months. I replay the past a lot in my head, and I think that I can't simply be the same person as that person because I feel if I had the chance to go back in time, which is impossible, I wish I could, but if I had the chance to go back in time, I would still not do anything differently. But I think I would want to relive it just one more time. I think there is a peace in knowing that even if you are not the biggest fan of your past, in the moment you can always adjust and change the future. And that's why I'm trying to like make active life decisions and not passively exist. I think, like I said last week, I know I said this on last week's episode. I think I have, and I've been struggling with this since I said it last week and since I read it on the Substack. But I think I've been struggling with living life as a human being because I think for the longest time I have not lived my life. I think I have been a walking dead. I think that's the best description of what I've been for a majority of my life. I think I have never made any decisions actively. I think I've made decisions from fear and lack for most of my decisions. I've never made an active the only active decision I've made in my life is like this podcast and maybe a few other things, but I've never made like an active decision. And I think I've been living passively and I let whatever happen. And I fear that that's the worst way to live. I don't think that's a normal way to live. I think the relinquishment of oneself to the universal, like to life, like leaving your life to just be and it should just be an expression of whatever happens. I think that's not cool. I don't think I want to do that anymore. And I hope to like remember this day after day until the day I finally take my last breath or kill myself, because it's not a joke, but because I think I want to actively choose a lot of things. And the final days of my life, I really don't want to like die passively. I want to be an active contributor to my death. If I'm gonna kill myself, I want to be the killer. And because I was thinking of like being like a victim of like a knife crime, and I think that's like the passive way to like go. And I think I want to actively go and know that, oh, maybe I had cancer and I did not treat it, but I know I had like a hand in like the way my life ended. And hopefully starting from now, I want to actively choose to exist or like befriend or hate or love or push or pull anything in my orbit. I'm grateful for my life, even if, yeah, I'm grateful for my life, even if I take it for granted. I think this is gonna cut. Like, I don't really care about spoiling books. Like, I don't care. If you have not read A Little Life, I'm grateful for my life because I saw myself as Jude, the character, in not the ways that Jude was like sexually abused. I have never been sexually abused. Um, that's gonna be a topic soon if I have the balls to say that topic. But I'm never gonna talk about sexual abuse. Sorry, I'm never gonna. That's way too vulnerable. I'm not talking about any sexual abuse on this podcast. But not in the sense that Jude was sexually abused or like the cutting of oneself or of his self, but I relate to Jude a lot in the sense that he could not accept the fact that his friends and his dad who adopted him could truly love him until the love of his life died. And I think that's like my biggest hurdle in life. I think I've never accepted anybody. Okay, I'm not trying to like talk about myself way too much, but like I think I've taken everything in my life for granted and my life for granted. And I think I take life for granted because I expect every single person I know to like make it to the next day or like make it to the next minute or hour. But there's like a very high chance that I or you or whoever could drop dead, drop dead now and cease to exist. And I think the art of existence is crucial for relationships, obviously. That's a no-brainer. Um, but yeah, I've just been really struggling with like, what if this person I really don't like, or what if this person I used to like, or what if this person I'm seeing, or what if this person I know suddenly dies and everything ends? Are there anything like I've always thought, is there anything I have to like say to anyone in a serious way? The reason why this has been at the front of center of my mind is because um last week my cousins all like my cousin has like seizures, and like I've struggled with like my cousins dying because I've lived with them my whole like I lived with them growing up, and I've always wondered if any of my cousins die or if any of my aunties die, like what my space would be on the planet, because I feel like in some ways like I think the only reason, and I'm not trying to like be suicidal, but like I think the only reason I have not like ended my life in a very serious way is because of some people in my family. And I fear that if, like in the book, when Willem dies, Jude, like, could not live for anything and he kills himself. And I think for the longest time, I always convinced myself that I did not want to kill myself because of the repercussions of hellfire. But I've recently been thinking of it, and I think it's not the consequence of hell because I don't really care about hell. I think there is a deep anxiety and deep fear that if I kill myself, I will bring great pain to a group of people, and I really don't want to like be a cause for pain, even if I'm a painful person to know. But I think, but I think if any of my like cousins, or not all of my cousins, just a few people, and a few of my aunties, if they were to like drop dead, or like if I were to hear the news, hopefully not, that they died, I would not be able to continuously exist or continue existing, because I think my space on here and my space on the planet is deeply linked to the people who have seen me in my fullest form and accepted me as a human being and not a caricature of one self. I hope that made sense. I'm really thankful for the ability to know what I like and what I don't like. Um, recently, I have, okay, I want to talk about fashion a little bit. Recently, I have like leaned really far away from like some things in fashion, and I've noticed that I'm not trying to say I'm a predictor of fashion. I know what's gonna be fashionable if I become fashionable, but I have noticed that it has happened a lot more times than I would like to claim, more than the like fingers on my arm hands. Sorry. Um, I I've been noticing since like last year, late last year, I noticed I stopped liking baggy jeans. Hey, I know there, I know there was an episode called Timeless versus Tacky where I spoke about baggy jeans, and I said baggy jeans is like timeless, I think. I think I said that. But I think what I meant, I'm gonna like readjust that. Okay, that was past me. But now I think straight leg jeans are timeless, and like baggy or skinny jeans are tacky or trendy. But baggy jeans are really tacky, ugly, and they look bad. I feel if you're wearing baggy jeans, you don't have a sense of style. There's a TikTok. Sorry, there's a, wait, there is a TikTokification of styling yourself on the internet, and I think a lot of people follow that formula of like TikTokifying their outfit. And I also want to talk about the ification of ifications. Like, why do we have to ificate everything? Like the TikTok. Like, I've seen TikTokification. Um, I've seen a lot of ification, but like I can't remember any of them. Um, yeah, I know what I like. I don't need anybody to tell me what I should like. And I know I said in this year's Met Gala episode that I used to like want to construct what I liked on the red carpet. I don't believe that you should judge people's red carpet looks anymore. I concluded that on my f- um fashion is subjective episode this year, but and I know fashion is still subjective, but I think baggy jeans are tacky. It's not subjective in fashion is not subjective in that case. It is objective. The fact of wearing baggy jeans is really impractical. I don't see the need for baggy jeans because it's not functional in any way. It looks it doesn't help with warmth. Oversized jeans still makes a lot of sense to me. Baggy is ugly. Sorry. There's nobody on the planet that's gonna like prove otherwise to me. I've seen a lot of looks of like people making their clothes baggy. It I would never say baggy looks don't look cool in the photos. They look good in the photos. But have you ever seen someone who's wearing a full baggy outfit walking on the street? Yeah, they look ridiculous. Thank you. Um, and I know what I'm not a fan of. I know a lot of things I'm not a fan of. But recently, I've been like currently, I'm a fan of straight leg jeans, black shoes, because everybody's getting brown now, so I'm going back to black. Um, black shoes, white socks. You would never see me wearing black socks. Maybe in a couple years, but not in the next 2 years. You only see me wear white socks or lighter colored socks. Um, I know how I like the way my teeth should feel. So recently, like no, a month ago, I switched my toothbrush to a lighter bristle brush, and I started developing what's it called? Plaques in my teeth, and I never had plaques. And I thought it must be the fact that I only brush once a day. That's why I'm developing plaques because my teeth need to be brushed twice a day. But when I was using a hard bristle brush, I only brushed once a day and I never developed plaques. But I could not like link it until I noticed I'm brushing twice a day and I still have plaques. I need to get my old toothbrush. So I swap back to a hard bristle toothbrush. I'm never gonna use a soft bristle toothbrush. Um, yeah, I just know what I'm a fan of and what I'm not a fan of. Recently, I've been a fan of ice pops, like ice lollies. I've been a fan of that. I've been a fan of a lot of things recently. But yeah, I know why I like and I know why I don't like, and I think I'm thankful for that distinction because I think a lot of people feel the need to scroll on the internet, and also scroll on the internet, but not for what to dislike or what to like. I scroll on the internet and I notice if I like whatever X is saying or what this person's not saying, and that's fulfilling to me. But I'm not one who scrolls to fulfill a itch of what to like because Clavicula, for example, says like the losers who want to be using marijuana and meth to lose weight. Goofs. I'm if Clavicula's I'm Clavicula's number one hater. If he has no haters, I'm dead. Um, and I'm thankful for the restructuring of my brain around shame. I think I hated being the like being shameful and being a clown, and I still really struggle with like being ashamed and being a clown. But I've like really embraced it this year? Question mark. In a lot of ways, more ways than one. I think I am thankful for shame. I'm thankful for the privilege to feel shame for the things I do. And yeah, it just goes up to like the beginning of this podcast when I said I hate my not hate, but like I have a pain spot for the podcast I released earlier, like like for the first few years of the podcast. But yeah, I love not love, but like I love the restructuring, and I'm thankful for the restructuring of like my brain around shame. And last but not the least, I am truly thankful for Substack. I know I said I was never gonna be on Sub. I never said that, but in my head, when people were like talking about Substack, I always said I was not gonna be on Substack because I don't want to read. I want to watch TikTok. I literally don't want to read. I want to watch TikTok, but I have been reading a lot of Substack recently. Like I said on last week's episode, my archive will be linked on the description if you want to see what I read every week. Not every week, but what I read and want to like tell the public about or like in tell you about, then you can go follow my arca. And I'll yeah. I think that's all I'm thankful for. I'm truly thankful. I love this tradition of like sitting and like talking about the most positive things, even if I had to sprinkle a little bit of negative because you can't always be positive in this life. Um, yeah, I I'm truly thankful for Thanksgiving and thankful for whoever is listening to this podcast. If you've listened to this point, give me a hug. Give me a hug. Hey, 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 hey. Okay, okay, okay. Um, I'll speak to you next week in a fun episode. It's December, baby. It's December. It's December. And there's a podcast on Christmas Day. And I'm not taking a break this year because I took too much break this year. And this is gonna be the hustle of the year. This is the final stretch. This is the final stretch. We need just three more subscribers. We need just three more subscribers. Three more subscribers. Okay, okay. Go to the YouTube, subscribe. You're so annoying. Okay, that's all I really wanted to say this year. Sorry, not this year, but like this week. I'm gonna say truly that's all that's been on my mind this year in the final episode of this year, which is kind of it's on Christmas Day. But the Christmas Day episode is very fun. It's a very fun one. It's a very fun one. It's a very fun one. Um, yeah. Do you have anything else to say? Do I have anything else to say? No, not really. Not really. I think that's all I truly wanted to say, my peeps. Um, but literally, Kylie Jenner literally followed me yesterday. She was like, "Oh, Clinton, I'm gonna come to your house." Okay, okay, I'm like out of word. I'm out of like what to say. That's why I'm just saying rubbish now. Okay, truly, that's. Oh yeah, the book I read this week is A Little Life. Like I said, I was gonna read, and I read Boy Erased, and I also reading The Paris Apartment. Those are the three books. I finished two of the three. Right now, I'm reading The Paris Apartment. That's the final one I'm reading this week, and then next week I would like pick up three again so I can finish my reading goal. And hopefully in 3 weeks I come to you with a good end of year episode. And for the final episode of the year, it's not going to be a wrap up, but an a sit down one to one heart episode where there's no notes, but just me speaking to you on Christmas Day about whatever I think. I'll make a little bit of notes, but like an outline. But yeah, I'll speak to you in a week, literally. Um, yeah, and you follow the TikTok because new things are coming on the TikTok. Follow the TikTok and follow the Instagram because literally new things are coming. And subscribe and go on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and go on Spotify and subscribe and rate the podcast 1,000,000 out of 10. Yes, 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 yes. And if they start paying me, like I said from the beginning, I will pay y'all back. Hey, y'all don't know, y'all don't know, y'all don't know. If I start making money from this podcast thing, nobody will work. I am a socialist. Okay, I don't think I'm a socialist, but I am a giver backer. I will give a lot of my money back when I start making a lot of money. So let's make me make a lot of money. Okay? Okay, truly, that's all that has been on my mind. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.